Hello there, my name's Hiro, and welcome back to another video. It is time for us yet again to reminisce and recall a tale from my high schooling years. As you might be able to tell from the title of the video, the stakes may or may not have gotten at least a tiny bit higher this time round. As usual, for the sake of my safety, honestly, I shall only be stating what occurred during the time of the event and not the exact names of the people or institutions involved, because this is stuff that's already occurred like years and years ago, like 7 to be exact. But for those who know me in real life that happen to stumble upon this video, they'll know what's up. Hey. From what I can remember, the situation occurred when I was around 14 to 15 years old. So about 7 years ago. Again, man, like those years genuinely were filled to the brim with drama, gossip, and it was all around just bad activity from my intake, and I wasn't like a frontliner or whatever you call it for a lot of these like situations that came to light. But a bunch of these things were told to me via multiple friends, personal brief sightings, etc, etc. You know, this stuff gets around. I can't tell if it was due to puberty or just growing pains, but a lot of us, I could tell in hindsight now, like, we were not doing well mentally, me included. For the sake of the story, we shall name our soon-to-be arrested fella Tony, because why not? Now, Tony, LC side, no joking, Tony and I were never really on speaking terms, but we have had conversations before because of this one other ex-friend who I used to hang out a lot with, who was a complete jackass, honestly, that constantly manipulated, made fun of, and embarrassed me throughout the years of ages 12 to 13. That same jackass was actually the one who introduced me to Tony, sorry. At first, my naive self thought that he seemed alright, and in hindsight, the term alright being used here is being used very lightly here considering the people that I just mentioned, but I digress. I eventually would leave this ex-friend of mine and go through multiple different friend groups that were all either equally toxic or had hurt people in some way or another, but that is not a focus here. Sorry, multiple stories for different times. According to other people in my intake at the time, Tony was known as what we would call in Malaysia as an apeng. It's a slang in Malaysia that typically refers to individuals from working class backgrounds that were wannabe gangsters. But the thing that I found funny and contradictory to the traditional definition of this piece of slang was that apparently he was absolutely fucking minted. So I don't know, man, you tell me. Like, we were all in a private school at the end of the day, so, you know, the tuition alone was not cheap. So, I don't know, man. My point being that he was someone that wanted to, you know, act tough. And, of course, he would have the stereotypical wannabe gangster things, would have, you know, like a posse, for example, flashing his branded stuff, showing off to the girls, or try to, making fun of those he saw lesser than him, all that jazz, you know, just to make himself feel better. I'm sure a lot of us can recount a group or people like this during our high school years. And as we further delve into this story, you'll soon find out that maybe he wasn't such a wannabe after all. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It all happened during break time. I remember it quite vividly, at least for this specific, like, time, you know. At the time, a bunch of mutuals of mine had suddenly bunched up around each other because apparently something was going down. The police were here. 2 of them, in fact. Not the typical security guard outfit. We're talking straight up PDRM uniformed officers, which is basically our official police department colors and stuff. And they didn't seem like they were here for spot checks or a coffee break, if you catch my drift. Nah, bro. They had a look in their eye that's basically said, someone up in here gonna get arrested today, you know. Along them came an older gentleman who seemed to be rather gruff and had probably lived life on the rougher side. That man would actually end up being Tony's father, to our amusement. Amusement? More so shock. And he too was holding a look that was not pleasant. And in the meanwhile, the teachers were trying to like wrangle all of us up, telling us to mind our own business. And when we asked them what was happening, for example, and for a lot of us, we were again confused as hell because the fuck does the police want with a bunch of 14 to 15-year-olds? And then the news basically broke. I'm unsure who it was that lit the match of gossip, but apparently Tony was being arrested or at least taken out of school for trying to distribute literal counterfeit money. Like he brought that shit to school one day and was like, "Hey yo, check this shit out." And apparently, according to said cops, after analyzing it, the stuff that he was giving out was actual like grade A material, like stuff that even some professionals or like retailers or whatever the fuck would have a tough time sniffing out whether or not if it was real or fake. So, and it was like I was told at least that he actually had purchased stuff at retail stores, like let's say for example a Nike, with said money with it. And I was like, holy shit, all right, cool. I mean, not cool, but you get what I mean. And then even more news came. Tony was expelled. Well, it wasn't told to us that Tony was expelled. It wasn't told to us deliberately by the teachers or anything like that. We all just sort of figured it out, whether it be from his own friends or mutuals or people who just for some reason knew that kind of information because it's high school. Gossip gets around. And by the end of high school, I heard that he was sent to a boarding school in China or something like that. The worst part was that there were even leaked videos of him beating up and bullying some poor random kid there. And it appeared like in the video that he had his own, he somehow already wrangled up a new like group of sorts. And oh god, man, I personally never knew the context to that video, man. I was just fucking shocked and appalled. Like I felt so sorry for that kid, man. Like fucking hell. Like remember when I said that he might not want to. Sorry. Remember when I said that he might not be such a wannabe anymore? Well, last I've heard of him, he's genuinely been hitting the underworld, that sort of shit. But that's all I really know, to be honest. And I'd very much like to keep it that way. Kind of had enough. I personally have had enough of interactions with people from that sort of background in my time. I'm turning 22. I kind of want to get my life together and actually contribute to society and all that jazz, and not have to deal with this, right? But I just decided to share the story for the sake of it. I tell you, man, like back then when our own teachers would tell us that like my specific intake or our specific intake was one of the worst the school's ever had, I thought they were simply just being mean or like fucking dickwads for no reason. But as I look back in hindsight, yeah, I can see where they were coming from. Like some of us were genuine menaces to fucking society, and that's not hyperbole. I don't even mean that in that weird like romanticized way or sensationalized way, like, oh my god, he's such a menace no, like some of these motherfuckers ended up doing drugs, hard drugs, dealing drugs, or just like, just doing illegal shit. A lot of them, some of them even sexually assaulting others, but that's again another story for another day. Oh my god. Like, Jesus Christ, so many of like my classmates that I used to know turned out for the worse, honestly. Some of them ended up all right, but for the most part, it's saddening, honestly, because these were people that I used to go to school with. I was never close with them, mind you, but I've talked to them, a lot of them before, and I did think a lot of them were assholes, but I didn't think that they would actually live up to the quote unquote hype of being an asshole and go further from there. But yep, this has been it yet again. Another tale story of my high school years. Hopefully you guys found it somewhat entertaining, as I kind of had to like it was like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. Like I had to dig deep back into the recesses of my mind in order to like remember and type out this entire script. Hopefully you found it amusing. Other than that, yeah, that's all I can really say. I guess I could just say thank you so much for the recent support on the channel. I have been trying to upload more consistently and stuff like that, and one of my most recent shorts actually is popping off really pretty well, and I'm really thankful for that. So thank you so much. Other than that, I'll see you all next time. Peace.